So thank you all for joining us for this month's Career Coffee. Today we're going to focus on finding balance between taking care of your career, focusing on your mental health, and looking after your physical health. Many of you are familiar with our facilitator, Kim Johnson. Kim is the Director of Events and Special Projects for the Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Journal, including many of their awards programs. Kim also manages and writes the bi-monthly Better Than Ever feature, spotlighting Twin Cities executives and their commitment to health and wellness. She spent the past year talking with some of the area's leading business executives. Kim is going to share some of her favorite stories and lessons with us today. Afterwards, we'll break into small groups for guided conversations around stress management, balance, incorporating physical and mental fitness, and more. So without any further ado, take it away, Kim.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody. I appreciate being invited to this morning's Career Coffee. I also appreciate the opportunity to talk about the Business Journal's Better Than Ever feature, particularly as health and wellness has jumped to the forefront of everyone's mind this past year. We actually had a pretty fortuitous timing in the launch of our Better Than Ever, which started in June 2019. Our publisher, Kathy Robidoux, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with, saw the feature in another sister publication of ours and thought it would be fun to bring to Minneapolis and St. Paul. It's a different way to feature local executives than what we typically write about when we focus on their careers, their companies, their game plans for growing their businesses. This gives us a more personal introduction into their lives and highlights how they make health and wellness a priority, as Cassie mentioned. The feature has really taken off, and I've had a lot of fun managing it and writing it and thinking up questions and reading about everybody's experiences. It's become quite popular. My inbox is full of story pitches, and I think it goes beyond just wanting the press. It's become a way for people to motivate others. It's become a way for people to share their experiences, their challenges over the past year, their passion for wellness. And people are very passionate about wellness in the Twin Cities. We are blessed with a lot of wonderful parks and trails, and that's just a fraction of what our executives are taking advantage of. You don't need to be a star athlete to be featured in Better Than Ever. We try to get some relatable stories. However, there are survey responses that come in, and I'm reading what their typical fitness routine is, and my jaw drops. I'm exhausted after reading it. I think, how can they possibly do that? I can barely manage to eke out 50 minutes on my trainer in a day. So they're very impressive stories. They're very relatable stories. Some of the more impressive ones, we have an upcoming feature with Ron Schutz, and I'm probably going to mispronounce some names, so I apologize if you know them. Don't let it get back to them that I'm mangling their names. Anyway, he's the chairman of the law firm Robbins Kaplan. He's 65. In 2016, he was diagnosed with a rare form of leukemia. 10 months later, he was running a marathon. He's summited Mount Kilimanjaro. He's climbed to base camp at Mount Everest. He's always led an active life. He trains for triathlons when he's training. He's running, obviously, more than 4 miles 4 days a week. He's biking. He climbs 200 flights of stairs in his office tower when he's training. Otherwise, it's just 100 flights. So that gives you a sense of what he's doing to get in shape for some of these greater adventures that he goes on. We profiled another 65-year-old, St. Kate's president, Rebecca Koenig. She is also into triathlons. She helped launch the YWCA Women's Triathlon in 2007 and continues to participate in that. So you can find her in St. Kate's gym on the treadmill, getting ready and biking and running or swimming as well. Speaking of educators, we featured Alana Wall. She's the physical education department chair at the Blake School. And obviously educators had quite the challenge put to them when the pandemic started shutting down schools, especially FIED teachers. She had to come up with a virtual FIED curriculum for kids across all age groups, and creativity, she said, played a big role in that. Her and her team created games to help the kids remain interested in these classes. One of them was Blakeopoly, which transformed a Monopoly game into spaces for yoga and burpees and jumping jacks. And she also conducted weekly Zoom classes for pre-K and kindergarten students that allowed them to see each other work out and connect, which has been really important for all of us. But for Alana, she said that is one of her main goals in physical fitness, is that connection for people to experience health and wellness together and encourage each other. And she typically likes to go to the gym herself, but had to do her own makeshift at-home gym, which I'm sure a lot of us did. Certainly a lot of our Better Than Ever profilees had to do or chose to do when gyms closed. She used a lot of body weight movements to bring home that that weight training that she would otherwise get at Lifetime. And the pandemic, like I said, reshaped a lot of workouts. One of the questions I ask is, how did it affect their weekly routine for all our profilees? And for some, it was really hard because they lost all ability to do their normal training. Digital River's Chief Technology Officer, Oleg Ryboy, participates in jiu-jitsu competitions across the world. So not only did travel cancel all of those competitions that he was training for, it made training impossible. You can't social distance with sparring partners who you're trying to grapple with. So he focused his workouts to maintain that level of training for when the pandemic is over on high intensity interval training. And that is a theme throughout our Better Than Evers. I think a lot of people have embraced that kind of physical fitness at home gyms, cobbling together whatever kind of weight training they could get. My husband and I experienced this ourselves, where we were trying to get weights, and my boss actually was trying to get weights as well and couldn't find them anywhere. So everybody was thinking the same thing. Let's create our own at-home gym since we can't get out to the Y or Lifetime. Longer walks and more frequent walks was also a big theme. And a lot of people commented that their dogs have never been in better shape. They also used the time to walk with their families as well as their colleagues. Medtronic Vice President Sherry Lewis, she had been traveling quite frequently for her job. Globally, it would require dinner meetings and lunch meetings and time in planes where it's impossible to get a healthy meal and it's impossible to stick to a steady workout routine. the pandemic actually improved that for her. She had the opportunity to really examine her relationship with food and why she was eating and when she was eating and what made her feel good. And she actually had conversations with her son about it, who really helped open her eyes to what kind of nutrition she should be focusing on. And I thought that was a really nice story. She also encouraged her team members to go on walks with her. And if not in-person walks, then they'd be connected on the phone while they were both walking together. And certainly there were other executives that we've profiled who have said the same thing. We also have one, I can't remember if we've already published her story, but she literally just straps on a backpack and runs her errands. She'll go to the post office and go to other businesses that she needs to stop at and run in between. So it's a matter of just squeaking in a workout wherever you can. Another story about how the pandemic has affected a workout. For the past decade, Upsher-Smith CEO Rusty Field has been meeting with groups of friends 3 to 4 times a week at the gym and participating in high intensity workouts. They use that group to help them to motivate each other, obviously, and to add a social element to their workouts. Of course, again, when gyms closed, he had to reconfigure his workout. He's a very outdoor kind of guy who switched to virtual spin classes. Another person who started doing more family walks, and he admitted to even occasional online dance classes with his daughters. And it sounds like he enjoyed them enough that that might become a continued part of his workout routine past the pandemic. So that's fun. One of the other really inspiring aspects of doing better than ever is people's stories about overcoming health issues. Some of them are Shri Zahir. She's the dean of the Carlson School and chairman of the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis. She's a busy woman. She suffered severe asthma since childhood, and it made even mild exercise nearly impossible. So she was never that sporty growing up or into her adult life. However, over the years, she worked with specialists to better manage that asthma that prevented her from more active workouts. And in her 50s, she started taking up a more regimented workout routine with the help of a trainer. And she credited that trainer with really providing the motivation she needed to continue workouts and to go to workouts, which she says she actually doesn't like doing, but she enjoys the results of her efforts, and she feels the energy. And she commented that she's now able to lift her carry-on bag in the overhead compartment. So it's even just little things like that people can point to and say, this is what I'm able to do now because I have taken charge of my health and wellness. Ken Cooper, he's the founder of Four Hills Advisors. He was diagnosed with heart arrhythmia in 2006. He said he had 6 episodes of atrial fibrillation between 2012 and 2019, but he wouldn't let it slow him down. For the past 7 years, he has logged 1,000 miles running and 1,000 miles biking each calendar year. I think that's a pretty impressive feat. Nicole Beckstrand, she is Chief Growth Officer at startup Urban FT. She's also founder of Yard Homes Minnesota. she has had multiple bouts of skin cancer, which has taken a physical and emotional toll. She was very forthcoming about how she initially didn't really turn to people, to her friends, to her family to help her process this, but she became more aware of the importance of that through time and a colleague of hers, and the importance of self-care. So now her workout routines are not only socially focused, where she makes time to get together with friends in the neighborhood to go on 3 or 4 mile walks. She also takes time for herself and really enjoys long bike rides, putting on the headphones, just putting her head down and getting on a country road that goes for 20, 30 miles and focusing on the music and focusing on her body. And that has really helped her, not just physically, but mentally. Peter Eckerline, he's managing director and wealth management advisor with Bank of America Merrill Lynch. He was born with a heart murmur and a bicuspid aortic valve, which I had to have him explain to me a couple of times what that meant. He said his doctors didn't really think it was a problem for quite some time until 2018. They said, you need open heart surgery to keep it from being a problem or to keep it from getting worse. Open heart surgery is a pretty big deal. Afterwards, he admits he pushed his recovery too fast. He went back to work too soon. He went back to active exercises too soon. And 8 months, 10 months later, he was back in the hospital for 10 days because he had an infection around his heart. So, lesson learned, he took more time and he slowed and lengthened his recovery period to get back into a regular fitness routine. And he had the guidance of his wife, who is a Pilates instructor, and she's a breast cancer survivor. So again, these overlapping stories of family being a part of a wellness journey and mental health being a byproduct of a regular fitness routine, in addition to overcoming challenges, physical challenges or health challenges, has been wonderful to read about. And on a more fun side, that I learned personally myself as well, it's been an opportunity to explore Minnesota and even just the Twin Cities. As I mentioned, we have an amazing set of trails and parks just right outside a lot of people's doors. Some of our executives who are new to the Twin Cities have taken advantage of that. James Benning, president of Knutson Construction, relatively new to the Twin Cities, has been here a few years now. He and his wife used regular bike rides to explore the area around their home. Jude Bricker, CEO of Sun Country, he came to the cities in July 2017 from Las Vegas. That's quite a different landscape, obviously. Since then, he and his family have enjoyed exploring outdoor offerings. They've visited the Boundary Waters. He sent in a picture of them at a cabin all together. They take advantage of the recreation opportunities around their home in Minnetonka, which includes the hiking and cross-country ski trails, as well as boating and fishing on Lake Minnetonka. More urban is the speed walking in downtown Minneapolis that Jacqueline Lloyd Cunningham likes to do. She's vice president of marketing and communications for YWCA. And her favorite thing to do is just walking across the Stone Arch Bridge and obviously there's such great architecture in that area that she likes to see, and the people, and I'm guessing she walks to work as well, since she lives down in that area, and can take advantage of the Y's great equipment. I had a great conversation with executive coach and professional speaker Roshina Rajkumar. She started running casually in the mid-90s when she wanted to get more serious about her running. She started training with a running group called North Star Running, and they mix up where they meet for runs to keep it from getting too monotonous. They also have formed friendships, and it's a great social group for her and for the other members. They go out to eat and drink after runs. They also travel together to participate in marathons or shorter runs. I think she mentioned that she was in, I want to say, Atlanta in March 2020, right before everything shut down. They were traveling together as a group to watch the Olympic trials, which of course were canceled or postponed. But so they formed a great community, and she was really encouraging for, if you're into running, check them out. They have a Facebook page, North Star Running. They also mix up their workouts, so it's not just you meet and you go for a run. They're very good about partnering you up with people of similar abilities and mixing up the types of training, high intensity or distance or speed. So I hate running myself, but if you're into it, that's a good outlet for you. And like I said, one of the repeated themes was just using your workouts to spend time with family and friends. St. Paul Mayor Melvin Carter, he plays kickball with his kids, and also they have started joining him on his runs. He had a new addition to his family, I believe it was last year, and takes her on some of his runs in, I forget what those strollers are called, but the runner strollers. So we got a picture of him and her going on a run together, which was fun. Meta CEO Alfredo Martel, he is an Ironman, so he's one of our, definitely our more impressive and dedicated athletes, as training for an Ironman competition is pretty much a full-time job. But beyond that, for him, it is a social gathering as well. He and a couple of other fellow Ironman or triathlon enthusiasts started getting together. They called themselves the Fly Boys. They bike together, they run together, swim together when they're training, and they have extended their community. I believe now there are some Fly Girls as well. So pop off for a 40-mile bike ride after work, no problem. Chris Fortman, CEO of Minneapolis Heart Institute Foundation, certainly knows about the importance of health, being at the Heart Institute. Her and her family are big hikers, and I enjoyed chatting with her about their trips in the Midwest as well as the West Coast to explore national parks and use that as an opportunity to go on these 3-mile treks, 20-mile treks, everything in between. And she said initially the kids, you kind of had to drag them along on these hikes, but now everybody is very passionate about it, and they enjoy the family tradition of, on particularly strenuous hikes, all wearing baseball caps, and at the summit of a hill or mountain, dipping their hats in a stream and then popping them back on their heads and cooling down. And just those moments of connection like that, her family has really enjoyed. And she's also gotten them to start doing yoga, her husband and her sons. So, you just gotta explore new opportunities and exercise as well as parks. Some of the other trends that I've noticed throughout managing this series is how much technology plays a role in people's workout routines. Not just the Peloton craze or the apps that count your steps, they track your bike rides, they provide a motivation to get to that certain number of steps that sometimes some of us are just too competitive to not have that, that data. They also provide nutrition suggestions. You can have these apps. Obviously, I'm not very technologically savvy, but these apps that provide meals, they provide specific ingredients that you can order and pick up, and it'll provide you with the specific nutrition or diet that you are looking for. And obviously technology became really important for a lot of people during the pandemic when gyms closed and classes went virtual. There are a lot of opportunities to work out with others, and they're growing more if you have a good internet connection. There's a lot of different programs that you can become a member of or subscriber of, and a lot of our Better Than Ever people have taken advantage of that. I'm sure they're excited to go back to the gyms though. Roshini also used technology, and she coaches executives and always encourages them to schedule in their calendars green time, what she calls personal time, that she encourages them to have that include some kind of health and wellness component. It could be exercise, it could be just time, just quiet time for yourself, away from work, away from family pressures. But she literally says, schedule it in your calendars so that you are making that commitment to yourself. And with how busy executives are and how many things they're juggling, particularly as quite a few of us are at home and the demands are merging together, it's really important that we all are very intentional about our health and capable of multitasking. Sometimes you just have to recognize that you want family time. Well, you can also walk with them, and you want to conduct a meeting, but you haven't moved out of your chair in 3 hours. People are pretty open to joining you on a virtual walk. And with the technology that we have, you just, pop in your headphones and go for it and conduct the meeting. And it's fantastic to multitask. And then when you can't even do that, a lot of people just reported that they have learned to give themselves grace and recognize that you can't do it all. Sometimes you can't fit in a workout, sometimes you can't fit in a walking meeting, but you're going to be able to tomorrow. And, they've just come to terms with the fact that that is something that is just what is happening now. And I think that also provides an emotional break and a realization that we shouldn't put ourselves under so much pressure and stress. What else do I want to cover here? There's so many wonderful stories. Let's see. Speaking of an emotional break, I ask all of our profilees what their typical start to the day is, as well as how they end the day. And the vast majority talk about a kind of meditation. They might not use the word meditation, but I think that just looks different for each person, whether it is taking some time to chat with your partner at the end of the day about what happened or what your thoughts are. That's a form of just taking a beat and taking some time to talk and reflect. A lot of the executives also talked about how they spent 15 minutes reading a chapter in their book, quiet reflection time, to consider all their blessings or what they accomplished that day. Was it what they had set their intention for at the beginning of the day? And just a self-reflection that was part of their wellness journey is a pretty representative theme that has gone through our Better Than Ever feature. And I think it was just last month where this really struck home for me. We had a mental health publication, a special editorial coverage for Mental Health Month, I believe it was, where we had a table of experts talk about how this past year has been very difficult on everyone. They cited a report that said 77 to 96% of employees are currently experiencing burnout. They said a Harvard Business Review conservatively reports that 60% of employees have experienced mental health challenges in the past year. These are staggering numbers, and a lot of the Better Than Ever profiles that I've written or that I've read talk about how exercise has helped them with their anxieties, their stress, the challenges they face in work and at home. And it provides some release for them. And having been at the Business Journal for almost 20 years, I've managed the Best Places to Work project for most of that time. And one of the components of many of our honorees is that they provide wellness packages, benefits that include also mental health resources. So just the ability to fall back on that as well is a key component to just staying healthy and mentally fit. I think that pretty much wraps up what I wanted to touch on. before we break out into groups, I would like to encourage you guys to think of people in your lives or clients who might be good fits for Better Than Ever, and to reach out to me with suggestions. I personally love reading it, even if nobody else reads them. So thank you.
Thank you all for being here today. And thank you, Kim, for coming to speak with us and helping lead our conversation.
Thanks for the invite.
Hopefully you guys came away with some great ideas and some inspiration. And I would encourage you all to join us for our next career coffee, which is taking place on Thursday, June 24th. And it is the art of getting coffee. So getting the most out of informational interviews.